The desert sun beat down harshly on the endless stretches of sand and rock. The wind carried a dry heat, and the only sound was the soft scrape of a horse's hooves against the hard earth. The cowboy rode steadily, his hat pulled low over his eyes, shielding him from the glare. His horse, a strong brown mare with a black mane, moved confidently, sensing the rider's calm determination. The cowboy, known as Jackson, was a man of few words, but his heart was as wide as the plains he called home. He had traveled this land for years, alone, surviving with the skill and courage of someone who knew both danger and solitude. On this day, as the sun climbed higher, Jackson noticed a small figure in the distance. At first he thought it was a rock, but as he drew closer, he realized it was a girl. She was no older than 12. Wearing clothes torn and dusty, and her dark hair was tangled from days without care. Her eyes were wide with fear, and she clutched a small bundle to her chest. She looked exhausted, and Jackson could see the faint outline of a cut on her arm. Jackson slowed his horse, keeping a safe distance so as not to scare her. "Hey there," he called softly. "You lost?" The girl flinched at his voice but did not run. Her eyes darted around, watching for danger, and Jackson noticed she seemed alert, almost too alert for a child of her age. I don't know," she whispered. Her voice was quiet, almost fragile, but there was a strength in it too. Jackson dismounted slowly, keeping his hands visible. "It's all right. I'm not going to hurt you. My name's Jackson. You need help?" The girl hesitated, then nodded slightly. She did not speak again, just followed him cautiously as he led her horse closer. He offered her water from his canteen, and after a moment of hesitation, she drank. Her eyes softened a little, and Jackson could see the relief washing over her. "Where are your people?" Jackson asked gently. She shook her head. "Don't remember?" she murmured. Jackson could see that her fear was not only of strangers, but of losing something, or someone, important. For now, there was no choice. He could not leave her in the desert. He led her onto his horse carefully, holding her steady as she settled behind him. Her small arms clutched his waist tightly, and he could feel her trembling. "Don't worry," he said softly. "We'll get you somewhere safe." As they rode, Jackson kept his eyes on the horizon. There were signs of recent travel, footprints, broken branches, and the faint smell of smoke, but no one seemed to be following them. Still, he stayed alert. The desert was beautiful, but harsh, and it did not forgive mistakes. By the time they reached Jackson's small cabin on the edge of the canyon, the sun was beginning to set. The sky blazed with shades of orange and red, casting long shadows across the land. He led the girl inside and offered her food, a simple meal of bread and beans. She hesitated but ate quietly, and Jackson noticed she had an unusual grace, even in her exhaustion. "You don't have to be scared," he said. "You're safe here." The girl nodded, but her eyes betrayed a story she was not ready to tell. Jackson did not push. Some things had to come in their own time. That night, as she slept on a small cot in the corner, he kept watch by the fire. There was something remarkable about this girl, something that felt larger than her years. Over the next few days, Jackson taught her basic survival skills: how to find water, how to read the land, and how to ride a horse safely. She learned quickly, her hands steady and her mind sharp. Jackson could see the spark of intelligence and courage that went far beyond a typical child surviving alone. He found himself impressed, not just by her skills, but by her courage. As the days passed, he gave her a name. "How about Kaya?" he asked one evening. She nodded quietly, seeming to accept it. Jackson noticed that she liked the name, repeating it softly under her breath as she helped him around the cabin. One afternoon, Jackson was fixing a fence when he noticed Kaya staring at a distant ridge. Her eyes were focused, alert, almost as if she were expecting someone. "What is it?" he asked. No one, she said quickly, but Jackson caught the hesitation in her voice. She was hiding something. It was not long after that strange visitors appeared in the nearby town. Travelers spoke of Apache raids, but Jackson knew the stories often exaggerated the truth. Still, he grew cautious. The desert was not always friendly, and a lone girl like Kaya could be a target if anyone recognized her. Then one evening, as the sky turned a deep purple and stars began to emerge, a rider appeared on the horizon. Jackson watched carefully as the figure approached. It was a woman, tall and regal, her presence commanding attention even at a distance. Her long hair flowed behind her, and her clothing marked her as someone important in the Apache community. The woman dismounted gracefully and approached Jackson's cabin without fear. "I am looking for my daughter," she said in a voice that was firm, but carried an edge of worry. Jackson's heart skipped a beat. Could this be? Kaya, standing behind him, froze. Her small hands gripped his jacket, and he could see a mixture of fear and recognition in her eyes. The woman's gaze softened as she saw the girl. "Kaya?" she asked. The girl's lips trembled, and she nodded. Jackson stepped forward, keeping a careful distance. "She's been safe here," he said calmly. "I found her lost in the desert and brought her back." The woman studied him, her eyes sharp, assessing but not hostile. "You kept her safe?" she asked. Jackson nodded. "Yes, she is a brave girl, and she's been learning quickly. I promise she was treated well." For a long moment, the woman was silent. Then she nodded. "I am grateful," she said softly. "It has been a difficult time for us. I did not expect to see her again." Kaya's eyes filled with tears as she stepped forward, reaching for the woman. The woman knelt, embracing her daughter with a strength and tenderness that brought Jackson a sense of peace. This reunion was more than he could have hoped for. That night, the woman stayed by the fire, sharing stories with Kaya and Jackson. She spoke of her late husband, of the challenges her people had faced, and of the careful steps she had taken to keep her daughter safe. Jackson listened quietly, gaining respect for the woman's courage and wisdom. Over the following days, Kaya and her mother spent time together, reconnecting and learning from each other. Jackson remained close, helping where he could, but giving them space to rebuild their bond. He realized that his role in their lives was not just as a protector, but as someone who could help bridge two worlds, the frontier he knew so well and the rich culture of Kaya's family. Kaya continued to learn from Jackson, her skills growing stronger. She rode with him, explored the desert, and learned to handle the challenges of the land. Her confidence blossomed, and Jackson felt proud, not just for her abilities, but for the spirit she carried. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Kaya stood on a ridge, looking out over the desert. Jackson joined her, and for a moment, they simply watched the colors of the sky. "Thank you," Kaya said softly, "for saving me." Jackson smiled gently. "You were brave, Kaya. You helped yourself, too." The woman, standing nearby, placed a hand on Kaya's shoulder. "And you are my daughter," she said. "Strong, clever, and brave. I am proud of you." Jackson realized then that this was only the beginning. The desert held many challenges, and their journey together was far from over. But he felt a sense of hope, knowing that courage, kindness, and trust could change destinies, and that even in the harshest lands, humans could make a difference. As the night settled over the desert, the trio sat by the fire, sharing warmth, stories, and quiet laughter. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if recognizing the bond that had formed between them. Jackson knew that tomorrow would bring new trials, but for now there was peace, and a sense that together they could face whatever came next. In the silence of the desert, Jackson understood something he had always known deep down, The greatest strength was not in surviving alone, but in helping others survive and thrive. And in Kaya, he had seen that strength, and in her mother, he had seen the wisdom to guide it. The desert night was vast, endless, and beautiful, but the warmth of the fire, the bond of friendship, and the courage of one lost girl had made it a place of hope. And Jackson knew that the story of Kaya, the lost girl he had found, was only just beginning. The desert morning arrived with soft golden light, spilling over the ridges and canyons. The air was cool, carrying a hint of warmth that would grow as the sun climbed higher. Kaya woke early, stretching and yawning as she watched the sunlight touch the rocks around the cabin. Beside her, her mother stirred, brushing back her long dark hair and smiling at the young girl. Jackson was already outside, tending to the horses. Kaya hurried to him, eager to begin the day. "Can we go riding today?" she asked. Her excitement was contagious, and Jackson chuckled. "Of course," he said, "but first, we have to make sure the horses are ready." They walked to the stable together. Jackson handed Kaya a brush, showing her how to care for the horse's coat. She worked carefully, her small hands gentle but firm. The horse seemed to sense her confidence and stood calmly, lowering its head. Jackson watched, impressed by her patience and skill. "You're getting very good at this," he said. Kaya beamed, her dark eyes sparkling. "I want to be strong," she said simply. Jackson nodded. "Strength comes in many forms," he said. "You already have courage, cleverness, and patience. Those are more important than just being fast or strong." After brushing, they saddled the horses and rode out into the open desert. The wind whipped past them, carrying the scent of sage and sand. Kaya laughed as her horse galloped beside Jackson's, feeling the freedom of the open land. For the first time in many weeks, she felt safe, happy, and completely alive. As they rode, Jackson noticed how aware Kaya was of the land. She pointed out tracks in the sand, small signs of animals, and subtle changes in the terrain. "You have a good eye," he said. "Have you always been this observant?" Kaya looked down, a small smile on her face. "I learned some things," she said softly. Jackson respected her quiet answer and did not press further. When they returned to the cabin, Kaya's mother was waiting, preparing a simple breakfast. She watched them with pride, noting the way Kaya had grown stronger and more confident. Over the next few days, the three of them settled into a new rhythm. Jackson taught Kaya more advanced survival skills, tracking, reading the weather, and navigating the desert safely. Her mother taught her about her heritage, telling stories of her people, their customs, and the strength that ran through her family. Kaya absorbed every lesson eagerly. She practiced speaking her mother's language, learning not just words, but the meanings and values behind them. Jackson listened quietly, feeling a deep respect for the widow and her daughter. He realized that this family, formed in the midst of hardship, had a bond stronger than any he had seen before. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, Jackson took Kaya and her mother to a hidden canyon he knew well. The canyon was narrow, with towering cliffs on either side, and a small spring at the bottom. The water was cool and clear, reflecting the orange and pink sky. Kaya ran to the edge and knelt to touch the water, laughing as she splashed it gently. "This is amazing," she said. "I've never seen water like this before." Her mother smiled. "The land is full of wonders," she said. "We must learn to respect and protect them." Jackson nodded. "And also to enjoy them," he added. Kaya looked up at him, eyes wide. "I will," she said. As they explored, the widow began to talk to Jackson more openly. She shared the story of her husband, the dangers they had faced, and the difficult decision to hide Kaya. Jackson listened with a steady calm, never interrupting, letting her speak at her own pace. By the end of their conversation, he felt a deep respect for her resilience and wisdom. Days turned into weeks, and the bond between the three of them grew stronger. Jackson and Kaya's mother worked together to teach the girl not just survival, but also leadership, kindness, and the importance of making good choices. Kaya thrived, learning to combine her mother's wisdom with Jackson's practical skills. She became confident, strong, and wise beyond her years. One evening, a group of travelers arrived at Jackson's cabin. They had heard of the young girl who had survived the desert and wanted to meet her. Among them were local leaders and ranchers, curious about the story of Kaya and the cowboy who had found her. Jackson introduced Kaya and her mother. "This is Kaya," he said. "She's brave, clever, and very strong. And this is her mother, who has taught her much about life, wisdom, and courage." The travelers were impressed. Kaya answered their questions politely, showing intelligence and poise. Her mother watched proudly, while Jackson remained quietly observant, ensuring everything went smoothly. Later that night, as the visitors left and the desert grew quiet, Jackson, Kaya, and her mother sat by the fire. The stars were bright above, and the desert night was peaceful. Kaya leaned against Jackson, feeling the warmth of the fire and the safety of her family. "I'm glad you found me," she whispered. Jackson smiled softly. "I'm glad too," he said. "But it was you who stayed brave. You helped yourself, Kaya. That's why you're here." Her mother nodded. "And it was the choice to survive, to stay strong. That kept you safe," she said. "You have courage in your heart, and now you have people who love and protect you." Kaya smiled, feeling the truth of her mother's words. She realized that even though she had been lost and afraid, she was never truly alone. She had a family, people who cared for her, and a future filled with hope. As the days passed, the three of them continued to explore the desert, learning and growing together. Jackson taught Kaya how to read the stars, predict the weather, and find hidden water sources. Her mother taught her the stories of their ancestors, the songs, and the traditions that had kept their people strong for generations. Kaya began to teach Jackson and her mother too, sharing the small lessons she had learned during her time alone. She showed them clever ways to find water, hidden paths, and ways to stay safe in the desert. Jackson realized that Kaya had not only survived, but had grown stronger because of her experiences. She was remarkable. One day, as they reached the top of a ridge overlooking the desert, Kaya stopped and looked out at the vast land before her. "I want to see more," she said. "I want to know everything about this world, and I want to help people too." Her mother smiled. "And you will," she said. "With courage, wisdom, and kindness, you can do anything." Jackson put a hand on her shoulder. "And I'll be here to help you," he said. "You're not alone anymore. We face the desert together." Kaya felt a warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, she truly understood what family meant. Not just blood, but trust, respect, and love. She had found safety, guidance, and the chance to grow into the person she was meant to be. As the sun set, painting the desert in shades of gold and purple, the three of them sat together on the ridge. Jackson and the widow spoke quietly about the future, planning for safety and adventures to come. Kaya listened, her mind alive with possibilities. In the quiet of the desert night, the stars seemed to shine brighter than ever. The wind whispered through the canyons, carrying the promise of new journeys, challenges, and discoveries. Jackson knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. The bond between them was unbreakable, forged through courage, kindness, and the choices they had made to protect and support each other. The desert was still vast and wild, but Kaya no longer felt lost. She had a family, skills to survive, and wisdom to guide her. She had learned that even in the harshest conditions, hope, courage, and kindness could create a path forward. And so the cowboy, the widow, and the girl rode together across the desert, ready for the adventures that awaited. Their journey had begun with fear and uncertainty, but it had grown into something stronger: trust, family, and the promise of a brighter future. As they rode beneath the endless sky, Jackson glanced at Kaya and her mother. He felt a deep sense of pride and peace. They had survived, learned, and grown together. And the desert, with all its challenges and beauty, had become a place of hope, strength, and family. The night settled over the land, quiet and calm, but full of promise. Together they had faced danger, uncertainty, and fear. Together they would continue forward, stronger and wiser, ready to face whatever the future held. And in the heart of the desert, they had found something more valuable than anything else: each other. Kaya smiled, feeling the wind on her face, the warmth of the fire in her chest, and the love of her family surrounding her. For the first time, she knew that no matter what came next, she was ready. And in that readiness, she felt truly free. The desert stretched endlessly around them, but now it was not a place of fear. It was a place of life, adventure, and hope. And together, they would face it all, fearless, united, and unstoppable.